Well, thank you so much for joining us again today. This is the Emerald Paradigm. We're very excited to connect with you. You may have seen we're moving some things around, some nice, beautiful changes here in the office. So you'll see us playing a bit of musical chairs over the next, few videos, few discussions. So just another thing that we're excited about here.
Yes.
But our topic today that we'd like to talk to you about is kind of grouped into, I'd say, a couple different areas. So let's say some people might call them angel numbers or synchronistic numbers. We're also going to talk about synchronicities, the importance of numbers, because I'm sure you get this a lot too, right? Like, oh, I just saw 1111. Like, what does that mean? Like, there's definitely a curiosity and something that speaks to us when we see, let's just say, I'll start at 1111. Oh, it's 11:11. Oh, well, what does it mean? I keep seeing this everywhere. And, we just had a brief conversation before we got started here. But I'd say the thing I typically suggest to people is, what were you doing? Like, what were you doing? What were you thinking when you saw that? Because it's kind of like this thing to draw attention, right? To what's going on around you, what path. It's I want to say it's like encouraging, right? Would you use that word? Like
absolutely encouraging, inviting,
guiding, perhaps.
A moment in the moment, almost like to stop.
Exactly.
Where you are.
What are you doing?
Right, and take inventory of yourself, of the situation, of the next step. So it's almost like ringing a bell, actually.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it could be looked at as that. Definitely.
And it's great if we have like a cue, as we're moving about. Wouldn't that be great if we have a cue as we're moving about, especially
hotter, colder, like that game.
Right, yeah,
Hot, warm, warm.
And so I think that people are really in tune with the sequence of numbers, because it does speak to them in some way.
Definitely. It's numbers are symbols. They're more than just math. Obviously, they represent quantities. You can look at it that way, but they have very symbolic meanings from 0 to 11, and then beyond. There's other sequences that kind of come into play, whether that's like 432 for the hertz of ohm, or there's all different types of frequencies and things that will touch us or talk to us in certain ways. So yeah, I completely agree. It's something you can't deny. It kind of speaks to you on a soul level, even though it's a number, and you might see it on a license plate, or you might see it on a clock in these very kind of mundane places, but they speak to us,
I love to hear the stories of people waking up and looking at the clock, and it's the same time all the time. And it's interesting because most of the time it seems to be like a repetition of a number.
Right.
So
like
it's not like 543 or 220, but it's usually 111, 222, and there is, sort of the mystery as well, right? Like, why do they get up? And why is it a repetitive number?
And is there like a very significance to this number versus another number? Yeah, definitely. And I think that we'll both bring a little different like energy here to this one, because my experience from working with numbers kind of plays into, I would say, more, I'm going to say rituals or ways to, just like I might draw if I was going to, let's say, we used this example before, just previously, but for a candle, like a candle ritual. What is a candle ritual? Well, like in a very simple way about, communicating about it, a candle or a flame, for me, is the connection to almost like a doorway. I see it like as if like the flame is like a little keyhole, and it's like you can see kind of, as you stare at the flame, how it kind of drifts into nothing, but the heat is still there, the light is there, there's this spirit soul kind of energy going on, like this combination of things. But anyway, like lighting a candle, putting your energy, your intention into the candle, and then lighting it. And sometimes you might carve something on it. I want more money. I want to meet my partner. Or you might not say it that way, but maybe just love, support. And that's where my experience with numbers comes from, because if I was doing something for a couple or something that was 2, even something like this, I would use the number 2. For harmony, I might use the number 6. For harmony and earth kind of like energy, I would use the number 6. And that's correspondence. That's something you can certainly go nerd out on. There's many books and Google sites that will talk to you about correspondence and those meanings of numbers. But at the same time, I think that there's something to be said for, we all have things that just resonate with us. Like, I've always loved the number 22. Like, I just love it, you know, and my aunt loves it too, right? It's like, it doesn't really have it's not my birthday, it's not my birth year, it's not whatever, but there's some kind of significance there. So I think that it might be your lucky number. And then regardless of the fact of whether, okay, it's couple or okay, it equals 4, you know, however you kind of look at it, it means something to me. So it's like your thing, you know?
I love it because, you know, we're not numerologists, right? So if we had a numerologist here, I'm sure that they would bring their own,
definitely,
specialty of what numbers represent for them. And of course, we know there's never a right or wrong. You know, this is a universal, you know, experience, language, and surely numbers are a unique language within themselves that could represent so many different things to so many different people, you know. So I guess today was sort of like visiting some of those possibilities, you know, of what they could represent for us, you know, maybe for the viewers. And like I said, if we had a couple of numerologists here, they would probably add to the list of what the numbers represent.
Or how you can find out your own life path number and like all those kind of different things. Because those are really interesting too. And from my understanding with that, it's like you take your, you know, your birthday and you add your birth month and you kind of like keep adding and you keep adding and breaking it down. So if you add up to 336, then you take that 336 and add it again. And then you get 12, and then you add it again, so you get the 3. So
the goal is to keep deducing it until you come up to a 1 digit, and then that 1 digit, you can look at the different charts that numerologists put, soul path. They even have one for a name path. You know, right?
I've seen that before.
And you know, it's almost like reading the horoscope. I think, or you know, I like to say, whenever someone is providing insight, whether it's numbers or your name or
something very general, essentially, like that anybody can kind of, like they're providing insight, but it's like
it's broad, right? But you take what resonates and you leave what doesn't. Now, does that mean that we are not paying attention or we choose not to listen? Well, no, but usually if there's a message there for us, it's gonna resonate, it's gonna speak to us. And in this way, the message could be very universal. You know, it could mean something for me, it could mean something else for you.
Absolutely.
and yet all of those messages can still have a home, you know, for somebody, right?
Definitely, absolutely. I love that you brought up horoscope with that, or, you know, because when we think of like horoscope or even tarot or oracle, what you're doing then, if you're having someone do it for you, I mean, you know, like if you're, whether you're reading it online or you go to someone and they do it for you, that's their interpretation of the cards. So even if you're reading a book on numerology and, you know, it might give you tons of information, or maybe it's you know, it's smaller and it's very general and it's online and easy to access, you're still getting their interpretation of it.
Without a doubt. And you know, as I'm hearing you say that, immediately like the light bulb, another discussion, you know, oracle readings and tarot and the interpretations. And again, you know, we take a stance here in this discussion, but we remind everyone, you know, take again what resonates. There's never a right or wrong, or at least from our view. And yet sometimes we have to kind of go, I strongly resonate with what you just said. We need to take into account that any interpretation is introducing the energetic frequency of whoever is presenting it. And why that becomes important, I think, is because, you know, you can come from a place of light. You know, I tell people all the time when they come in for a reading, it's always going to be from a place of light, because some people come in and hyperventilate.
Oh, yeah.
They're nervous, they're afraid. You could clearly see that they're, uneasy. And I ask them...
And then they're easily influenced, too, because they're coming in with fear,
Right? Exactly. And I tell them, what's wrong? Don't worry. Everything is going to be from a place of light. And what that means is that even if there's a challenge presented within the reading, it's going to come from a place of light and not from, oh, you only have 3 days to live kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And I know that we could take this into a totally another story or, thing to share, but I have some very personal experience with that was so powerful. When I was young, very young, like early teenager, maybe even barely a teenager, I got my cards read at like a local fair, and she said that I would not be able to have kids. To a young girl, right? And like I didn't have my like strength yet. I didn't realize like I could whatever. So that's her interpretation, right? But down the road, it started to manifest because I had always had this in the back of my mind. I had an ectopic. I had like issues, and up until the day like my mom passed, I like I still thought like I might not be able to, even though I had this strong calling. And, a whole bunch of stuff happened when my mom passed that, like, gave me this, like, empowerment, I want to say, and this, like, maturity. And within, like, a month or two, like, I became pregnant. So what I'm trying to say there is whether you see, back to the numbers, but whether you see, oh, I saw 666. Oh, no, like, don't put fear into any of this. Don't allow someone's interpretation of a number sequence or oracle cards or whatever to influence you, because it's only a message. And I don't want to say that a person can have it wrong, but it can come in ways that is not appropriate. There are many sources out there that are not helping you, and you have to use discernment.
Discernment to the utmost as to what experience you choose to have. In that, someone can have knowledge and yet still be vibrating from a lower space. And so it's not a question of whether you want to receive guidance or insight, but from whom, like from what vibration.
Right.
And, always look to see the light. And even in messages, going back to the numbers, always seeing the light. And we're not being Pollyanna here.
No.
Because again, could there be a challenge or challenges presented in a reading? Without a doubt. And yet, we should remember that we're co-creators. And so, even in a challenge, you can now take the stance that you're going to recreate a situation. And in your case, you just said, someone told you that you couldn't, conceive. And yet, somewhere you must have taken a turn to say that this was something that you wanted to create.
Exactly. And that's what happened. I love that.
Because we can, when we're connected to the universal force, we can supersede. Right? Because when a reader is reading, and even the numbers, it is looking at a potential.
Right. But there's always free will. There's always your decision.
I love it because people say, oh, like, you're an amazing reader. And yet, it's the seed of the potential that's presented. And then if it resonates with the person, the receiver, they run with it, whether they realize it or not. Because it harmonizes in their soul, now they start to harvest it. And so really, was it because we saw it, and yet the person had their element of creation in it?
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
It's really fascinating how much power each individual has as to what they're allowing. Because on the other side of it, going back to, I've actually seen a numerologist like years ago, and this was like after I had become a mom and stuff, and she's the one that told me I was going to be a Reiki person. She was like, you do Reiki, right? And I was like, no, but I've been trying to, like, I have looked for teachers. So like, just to give you the opposite of how it can be inspiring, if you take like from it, like, and like right away I found my teacher after that, and like it just fell into place, and it's been life-changing. Whereas like on the other side of the coin, the person who, I'm not blaming them, but from our perspective, we never come from a place of inducing fear in someone or making them feel like they don't have a choice. Yeah, victimization. We need to be
responsible as light workers in whatever capacity. That most of the time when somebody comes, they are under the influence because they are opening themselves. They want you to tell them, they want guidance. And so discernment and the responsibility to come from a place of light, so that you can inspire this individual, not disempower them by inducing fear, or hopelessness if you tell them something, right? That could be so crippling emotionally.
Oh my God.
Emotionally. And set, the person off, to a whole different life path.
Right. And tying it back to the numbers and how they might be presenting themselves in our lives. If you see, you're thinking of a person or your child, and then you see 666 come out, like, you don't have to take that as an omen. It might bring you something like, I want to pay attention, but not, let me read into this. I'm using 666 a lot because I think a lot of people are afraid of that number. I'm not one of those people. I don't fear any number.
Well, it makes me think, I've been to hotels, I'm sure you've seen as well, and the viewers, where some hotels actually don't have the number 13 as a floor.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't seen that. I haven't paid attention, I guess.
And that's the power, again, of numbers and the association that we can make. There are many hotels that do not have the floor 13.
Interesting.
Because people refuse to stay there.
I've heard that about the months, too, that there should be 13 months because there are 13 moon cycles in a year, but that it I just picture some old guy being like, no.
That's another discussion, superstition, right?
Yeah.
And, as we do these discussions, we can just make a list of all the other topics
so
that we can cover because there's really truly so many. But again, so from that level 1, we start to recognize that numbers are a symbology, that they're a language. Absolutely love that, right?
Definitely.
They're a language, and they're also a frequency. And when we see whatever sequence of numbers, we stop, we take notice, we look, take an inventory.
What was I thinking? What was I doing?
Right. Maybe, we're distracted and it's like that bell trying to bring us
eyes
back.
On the road, buddy.
Right? Maybe we're running late somewhere. So on a simple, on that first level, to pay attention. To stop.
Take your. I love inventory. What you said. Yeah. That's exactly what it's like.
Right. Take an inventory of your surroundings, of your disposition, and maybe even take a breath.
Definitely.
Sometimes we're out, right? We're not. We're not in the experience. We're wandering. We're worried with something, and maybe simply taking a breath and coming back into center to be,
just what you need, just the message, the guidance there, because I think that's a big thing. What does it mean? That's what we hear I hear it all the time. I'm sure you do too. What does this mean? What does this mean? And it's like, I can't tell you my opinion because I don't know what you were doing. I don't know what's going on in your life. I think that one of the things that we're doing with our clients always is encouraging them. How does it speak to you? How does it make you feel? Trust your intuition. There's a beauty in being able to access teachers, books, online articles, whatever. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't do that. I do it too, and I did a lot more before. But first, let's check with ourselves.
Yes.
See what's going on, and again, the inventory.
Your higher self. And your guides, if you've already made a connection with celestial beings, your animal guides, celestial angels, because when we start opening those doors to those connections, then they may use the symbology of numbers
to let you know
to try to speak to us, about something. And so we could sort of slowly navigate then into that second tier, that second level of numbers, So, and again, remembering there's no right or wrong, but when we see, especially repetitive a sequence of numbers, what could they mean? And adding that maybe we have already that connection that I'm talking about with the afterlife, with our celestial, guides. I feel that when we see a sequence of repetitive numbers like 111 or 1111, it definitely is coming from a cosmic place.
I feel the same. Yeah. Angelic, cosmic.
Yes. The ascended masters. For me, when I see 111s, it always says, stop. Stop. And become aware, but I feel that it's a message from them. And when I see 1111, I stop as well because I feel it's a celestial blessing. In other words, a wave of energy. So
I love that. And then you can bring yourself into a place of connecting with that, even if it's momentarily.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a 5 second. If you're busy. And it's
so
like
it's almost like a dose,
like
or an injection of cosmic fuel for me. That whenever I see it, I literally stop and feel the cosmic injection. Fueling me, and I just take the breath because it really is a portal that's opening up. For the blessings, So that's 111, or any ones.
Right.
When I see 2s, and we'll talk about that a little later, and the third level. But when I see 2, I kind of feel like
relationship partners, that kind of thing.
Cooperation, collaboration.
Yes.
Unity.
Balance.
Balance, absolutely. Balance. And if we keep going, triple threes or threes, I feel is trilogy. I pay a lot of attention when I see 3s.
Right, I like that.
Because I feel that it represents the trilogy, and whatever that is to, there's many verses of the trilogy.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
So that could be, let's say, like mother, father, child, like literally.
Yes.
But it could also be your connection, you, child, Father Cosmos, Mother Earth, like depending on what you're working on, it'll kind of touch you in that way.
Yes. You meet us. For some, it means in some the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? And so I feel that it means completion. Something completed within the circle of whatever the trilogy may represent. And I'll tell you, I feel that it has a lot of holiness. Or
strength
sacredness
too. It's very strong, like the triangle.
So when I see the 3s, I stop again, and just take recognition or have a sense of deep gratitude that something is being completed. And I may not know what it is.
Right.
And I don't need to know.
A lot of times, that's what it is. That there's a freedom there, but it's like a nice reminder, a confirmation, just something like, like we're moving. I see 3, as you said, but also as growth too. Like the addition. Like, okay, we've got the harmony, now what's, okay, we're working together. Okay, what did we create? So it's like you, me, and then Emerald Paradigm.
Wow, there you go.
So that too, like what's
that.
Coming from that harmony or that balance. But definitely the more sacred associations to trilogy as well, for sure. I love that you brought that up. That's perfect.
And then, I usually take it to the 5s, not because I don't like the 6s, but only because, I don't know, there's no 666 in the clock.
Right.
If that makes any sense. But to me, the 444s or 4s are gateways. And again,
like a doorway, like a box.
Yeah. When I see 4s, I really pay attention to the frequencies that are around me. Because it could be an indication that there's a cosmic portal being opened, to receive energy. It could be that I'm being transported from place that I'm at the moment to another dimension because the energies may not be conducive to me. Right. You get that? Right? Or some kind of initiation. I know that's kind of heavy, but...
I get it,
And then the 5s are about new beginnings. Again, this is like kind of my language, where I, like my inner language, new beginnings, something closing and something opening.
Right.
It
makes sense too, because visually you can picture it, right? Like you can picture the 1, the self, and that holy connection, and the 2, like whether you see 2 of you or you and your partner or whatever, and then 3, you see growth, 4, you see the portal, but for me, like also like stability, earthy, the home, like home-based kind of things. But then the 5, it's almost like you see another block come up and new beginnings, like the addition, like the, like what's coming now. Sometimes I associate 5, and not to but like to bring the fear, in. I see 5 as not chaos, but sometimes discomfort, as in new beginnings, as in those beginnings are a little challenging.
And really, when I hear you say that, it is part of the new beginning, because a lot of times we have to dismantle a lot, right? To begin again. We could almost say things fall apart.
Right. I was gonna say, it's like you gotta tear down a wall to put on the addition.
And it does. I love that word. And we could use it in a constructive way. Things may be chaotic because they have to be dismantled to be rebuilt.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that for sure. It's like it's you got to knock something down. It has to be built on like you're growing, and sometimes growth is painful. Like we were just sharing about some personal stuff. Like sometimes someone might leave your immediate life, and I don't mean like cross over necessarily, but like go on, or a friend is like traveling, or they're settling down out west to marry someone, or and it's disruptive. But again, it's a new beginning for both of you, to like create something, to have a different focus. And there's a discomfort, but there's also this excitement and beauty to that too, because it's like, oh, we didn't hit a ceiling, it's like you can keep going.
Well, us, we're a great example in the fact that you're here, and I love that, and we love it, and yet that started from a chaotic situation on my part where I felt like maybe I had to leave the office, or maybe, I couldn't handle the office. And so from something chaotic came something about beautiful. Something amazingly beautiful and fulfilling.
And it is challenging, because now, we get along wonderfully, but this is someone in your space. This is someone, hey, let's move the couch over here, and it's good, but it's also like, oh, okay.
Well, growing pains, and that always intrigues me why they call it that way, growing pains, because it does cause, of course, some kind of discomfort. If we could only accept that and know that that's not eternal, that it's transitional, but that ultimately is leading us to something much more expansive.
To what you truly wanted. If you are in alignment, then it's leading you to, I see a lot of like inspirational quotes. I'm sure you do too, on Facebook or wherever. I'm trying to get her on Instagram more now. And you'll see them there. But it's like, what's the expression, or how it says, it's like everything you're going through right now, even the shit, is preparing you for what you want. So, take it that way too. So I like that as well.
Absolutely. And it's not always easy to remember that when you're moving through the experience, which is why having the, tools, whether it's meditation, journouple, whatever works, are so very important, because
like we talked about that foundation in a couple episodes back.
Because life happens. And what happens when life happens?
You sink or swim kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we don't always have to sink, even though we may feel like it. We just, I guess the balance is kind of ride the wave. Ride the wave. Until the waters calm.
Yeah, right? I love that. I love that.
Right. And what can we use to do that? Support, of course. Like-minded individuals, friends, groups, circles, but our tools, our foundation. right? That's so important. And if we tie that up to the numbers, then clearly I've observed that when people are spiritually developing and working on, their spiritual development, it's when this numerology, language starts to speak to them. Like, I don't really see many people who are not working on their spiritual journey say like, oh, I saw 3-3. I wonder what that means.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't notice.
Right.
And so it's almost like a validation, I think. A good validation that if you start to see these sequence of numbers, that you're doing a good job.
Yeah, that you're becoming aware that things are talking to you and you're receptive to it. Because those numbers were always there. It'll always be 33 at some time, twice a day.
Why are you noticing now?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you noticing now?
And it can go into all kinds of things, like seeing which animals cross your path. If you keep seeing hawk all over the place, I'm just kind of branching out a little there, but things talk to you in many ways. Numbers are in our DNA. Like, these are things that are making up every part of, our molecules, the math of gravitational pulls and all of these things, so it's really magical.
I love that, because you're getting into the geometry of who we are. And, it's, when we look at the physical body and we see how we function, right? And we have to eat, sleep, and shop.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to remember how sacred we are in the geometry, of who we really are.
I love that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Like with flesh, water, on the exterior, and even in the organs, and if they cracked us open, we would see the organs, blood, but energetically, we are a perfect geometry. And, the symbology of all of geometry, from, the Merkaba, right, to the sacred, I can't even pronounce them, testosterone,
tetrahedrons.
Right, right, thank you, that's
No
why,
problem.
But all of these are angles, if you may, of the divine essence of energy that we are constantly in movement.
I love that. I love that too. I think Manly P. Hall has a book on this, and I'm sure other people do as well, but I think it's called The Esoteric Nature of Man, or something like that, where I might be quoting this wrong, but it talked about how, the first, or some of the earliest that we can at least document, studies were done on the human body, and it applied to, there are 12 chambers in our mind or skull, and it equates to the 12 signs of the zodiac. And then there's the, these, like, this place, which is like the hall of record, it really, like, when you get into like the esoteric studies of anatomy and how everything plays out, your digits, polarity therapy, direction, and currents, and oh man, like, you could really go deep into that.
There's even a correlation between the numbers, the frequencies of numbers, and our meridians, being used for like reflexology or shiatsu points, and even the chakras, and so we should honor when we see numbers, and we should recognize that they're speaking to us. And as Lune said in the beginning, it doesn't really matter if we necessarily know what they're trying to tell us at the moment, but more so to be open, to be aware, to be open and receptive. Because if we trust in the essence of the absolute, of the universal life force, then we know that it's something good. Right? It's that simple,
right.
That it's not going to represent, or it's not introducing something toxic.
No.
And eventually, we're going to know, because we're going to be aware, so we're going to receive even more guidance. And we're gonna get to that destination.
Yeah. It will lead us there, and I think it kind of like I'm picturing the way language develops even from childhood. You know, it's like you learn the basic things of like I need this, I want this, or that means that, and it kind of continues. And there's a philosophy, I guess, in Reiki and many other spiritual practices, healing modalities, that you won't get anything you're not ready for, and you won't, you know, and that's the same as the message, you know. So even if you're not aware of what it is, like, then maybe, you know, not to be rude, but maybe you're not ready for it yet. Keep, you know, showing the diligence of being aware, because the more you kind of connect, I almost see it as like creating a rapport with like some unseen kind of force, whether you look at that guardian angel or ascended master or just the universe in general.
I'm thinking of that movie, and I can't remember of, it was Matt Damien and
like the the math one, was it like a math one?
It was with a portals where he meets his beloved, but he's not supposed to meet her.
No, I didn't see it.
I know the viewers are probably going to put it in the comments.
Yeah.
But it sort of reminds me of that, in that, you know, nothing will happen before it's time. You know, the Bureau Agency or something like that. It's called. It'll come to me. But a very spiritual movie. And it's, you know, it's about portals. It's about divine timing and how... It's interesting because it's how, you know, things don't happen before our destiny, and yet as co-creators in that movie anyway, he got
his way in there,
his way into it, It's a movie, but there has a lot of validity to it, you know, as well. And so, you know, as we come around to that trilogy of that third level, right, of numbers, and again, this is my divine observation from my own, you know, work and the channeling and all the work that they've had me doing over the last 20 years. But on that third level, 1111 was very significant for the new paradigm, you know, and maybe a lot of the viewers are saying like, yeah, you know, when are they going to talk about that one? Because for many years, you know, for over a decade, really, many who were awakened, you know, were correlating the 1111 coming into the new paradigm. And why? Well, for many, it was a gateway, you know, and what did the gateway represent? Unification, oneness.
Right.
You know, I get the chills just saying that because it was such a held field, you know, of unity, of all being one. And adjacent to that, it also represented a great gateway to the twin flames.
And is this like a time period we could kind of like put a estimate on in any way for anybody who was curious? Because some of that, like
what the timeline was?
Yeah, like what about, like, I know it's different for everybody. Like I believe that, you know, I have people who are still very much talking about twin flames, which Blanca is going to continue to talk about, like that separation or the change, but I feel it does happen differently for each person, even though the collective, you know, like it has a timeline of sorts, right? Is that appropriate?
Yes.
It's a little over my head right now, so.
Oh, no, it's not. And, you know, again, there's many different philosophies. I humbly consider myself a great holder of that field. You know, I wrote 2 books that, you know, were so intimately connected to the twin flame field as a twin flame holder myself. And to, you know, the knowledge and the insight that I received, yes, you know, the onset of that time period was like in the late 1990s, where the twin flames were really being called to step forward.
That makes sense to me too. Like when I think of my relationships then, or, you know, not that it was twin flame, but I could feel that fire. Is that
Yes.
a way to say? I mean, flame, right? So
right, igniting. And the threshold of that field was like 2011. And what I mean by threshold is that between the late 1990s and 2011, twin flames were being called to come together and to transmute to the best of their ability, even unknowing to them that they were twin flames, the karmatic chords that they brought together and or from other lives to resolve here, you know. And it was a very critical time because we could see it almost as just twin flames, but the truth is that the twin flames were created to really contribute to the unification of the new paradigm. You get that? You know,
there was work to be done.
Exactly. And you know, while the twin flames are very important in the sacred relationship in that they are part of the same flame, there was a reason, which a lot of people, you know, God bless, don't, you know, it's almost like it's separate.
Right.
But that is why they're twin flames, and that's why they were represented as the 11, because they were, through their unification, if they would succeed in transmuting their karmatic chords and coming back together as one, they could then step into the new field of the new paradigm and actually unify the energies and the field. Follow?
Yeah.
Very sanctioned, very sacred relationship because of that. So, you know, coming together, you know, now, you know, the throttle being 2011, if twin flames didn't succeed, and by the way, there was a lot of karma. So it wasn't an easy journey.
No, yeah.
You know, because in most cases, they were in opposite polarities.
Right.
And what I mean by that, and I use these terms, a diamond in the rough being one of the flames, and an awakened one.
Right.
And this tug of war.
Right.
This pull of, I need to bring you up, and this resistance, you know. Again, the goal of being able to unify for the field, you know. Anyway, the apex of that was like 2011 to 2012, and in my observation, in my insight, in my everything, if twin flames did not succeed in coming together and becoming unified, then as the new paradigm came into fruition, their job primarily was done,
right,
or not completed, and so the field holders as twin flames that were able to go through that new paradigm, of course, now hold an incredible feel for the new paradigm. But the ones that weren't able to usher through, it's almost like the intensity of needing to keep pursuing that goal is not longer necessary, or for that matter, really being held.
Right.
And that may sound a little radical.
Yeah, and I certainly, again, have seen this in other types of relationships, like even watching people I love and like considering the timeline, you know, and seeing that, you know, we're going to do one on twin flames more diligently and like relationships and stuff. However, to bring this into like the numerological school, what you're sharing is more of like this portal aspect, right? Then of like this welcoming the new paradigm, and then the importance or the understanding of this 11, this twin flame energy, transforming in a sense, or not even transforming, but being brought into a new paradigm where it's, I don't want to say it's not needed, but that's not the highest goal of those, let's say, those souls anymore necessarily. Right. Is that like...
Yes. And we are going to continue this, right? But for the sake of the numbers, because I just want to bring it on the third level to this of the numbers, is yes to your question.
Okay.
And two, the numbers 22, and you said it earlier of being your favorite number. I was like, ooh, yes, of course. Because you're a holder. You are a holder of what is being, at least from my insight, called the second wave. And it's not because it's the number 2 so we call it second. It literally is a second wave of what? Of a new awakening. And where the 11 was very important and representative of the twin flame, now the number 22 becomes just as important for complementary energies.
I love that. I've heard you say that before, and I love that.
Complementary energies. And I'm just bringing that up, even though I know we're going to do a discussion
it's perfect.
on relationships, because I would not be surprised if we, as a collective, start to really, just like we did with the 11s and the 11, start to really see, I'm actually seeing lights in front of me. We have an audience. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing 2s, because the second wave is so very important for the new paradigm, because whereas the 11s were opposite polarities, and again, I said this
they
resistance,
were very individual.
there was this,
like
that.
Each was like an individual,
yes,
and they were like either
separate,
they came together.
The illusion of separateness,
right? Exactly.
And we know that there was so much pain, there was so much turmoil, there was so much
almost like inability to relate, but an attraction, like that attraction is there, however that may be. And I think it's fair to say, like, have you ever come across, this might be a question for another date, but let's just to give them an idea, twin flames who were not romantic, like could a friendship be? I'm just like just kind of coming out.
I'm gonna humbly say no.
Probably not, right?
Because it's just the opposite with twin flames, and that's how we can identify them. So the intensity is so intense on any level.
Right.
So it doesn't have to, when we hear that word intensity, it doesn't just have to be on a passionate level. It could be repelling, and it is, and it was for many twin flames, like, I can't stand you.
Right.
Or you're so violating, So I can't, they wouldn't have a mediocre kind of like friendship, like subtle and nothing, anything but subtle.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. So again, back to those numbers, and it just kind of, I feel like this is so important as we're talking about numbers, is be open to that second wave. Of course, honor all the numbers and all the messages. But I foresee that we're gonna really start engaging in the the second wave.
Right. You may have seen it in your life already from these complementary energies, people coming together. And I see that then in friendships, I would say, because it's not twin flames. So even our relationship.
By the way, in every relationship.
Yeah, it's like things are supportive, things are easier, they're more comfortable, they're like, you like that? Of course you like that. I like that. Right. Like they just like complement, and it's easy going. It's not like you're the same, but there's like
I love the word complementary, and this came to me. It was funny because I was doing an oracle reading maybe 2 years ago, and in the middle of presenting a reading, I turned the card, and it was 22. And I was completely taken out of my body from this reading and taken to a consult that in the middle of this reading would decide to start explaining to me the importance of the 22 and the second wave. And true to form, I've seen it manifesting, as you said, and then look at even us. How flawlessly and effortlessly our joint, energies came together, and how, wow, like, right, harmonious,
right,
in just
harmony,
every endeavor, and even the teachings and how we developed. There's so much, right?
Yeah.
And so again, you said it perfect. We don't have to be clones.
No.
But we complement each other. And the reason why that's important in the new paradigm is because, as with anything that you begin, right, you set a foundation, and now the building of it has to start, right? And the second wave is complementary, is calling for support in the complementary energies, so that it can build up the structure. And when you're complementing, the acceleration, that's a key word, the acceleration of that building is done with more fluidity, quicker than if we're doing this to each other.
It's not only removing that battle where you kind of get caught up, but also it's like, oh, you've got this, I've got this, and everything just comes together so much quicker. And then I think, it's kind of predictable at this point that the next wave will be of even more growth, like development, like completion, like you said, with the Trinity. So it's like really exciting.
I am so excited, and for the viewers who are following, the conversation, it is such an amazing time, truly. We are so fortunate to be in this timeline. And, just 10 years ago, if you would have asked me that, I would have said, like, get me out of here, because that throttle coming into, from the old paradigm to the new was taxing, exhausting, and it just, grueling. But here, 10 years later, it's like, oh my goodness, there were so many portals, so many opportunities, and a promise that was made to the ascended ones, to the field holders.
It was doing the work on the ground level, you could say.
Right. Yeah. All of those, who know that they're old souls, and held that old paradigm field. The promise was, when we get to this new place, you're going to be able to exhale, and you're going to be able to blossom and fulfill your calling, and every need that you need will be met because we need you. And I could definitely say that I've been a witness to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And even for people who aren't necessarily doing the work, but their work is more personal. So they might not be like, oh, I'm out here being a light worker. Oh, I'm not, doing this or that. I'm not knowledgeable, let's say, on this or that. But I know I have my own work to do in my soul experience. And I've seen them coming into this complementary energy that they had not seen before, and it's just like, it just comes in so many ways, and I think we really are going to see it. You might see it already. And if you do, not to be I feel like I'm the one bringing in the negative stuff, but be prepared, let's say, for the stuff that is combative to fall away. I don't mean that we won't have challenges either, but if we're talking about complementary energy, and if that's what we're supposed to be in, then the stuff that is not complementary is going to be removed from your life. Yes. And not in a scary, horrible way, but it needs to create space. We have to welcome that in. So bringing an awareness to that when it does happen, oh my God, makes it so much easier. I don't know if you've had in your personal life this kind of stuff come up, but I certainly have. Without a doubt. I just honor it, I don't judge the person, I don't judge me, I just honor the fact that, like, there's space being made. There's something has to break away. Like, it's just how it is.
I think that, yes. And even on, on whatever level we're at, the word complement fits perfectly because, at any level we could see that if something is not complementary, then it's not gonna feel good. It's not gonna, it's not gonna have a flow. And so when we think of jobs, we think of friendships, we think of partners, we think of anything, because this new paradigm is looking to complement, ultimately, because things are gonna then move so flawlessly and perfectly then things will start to, things that are not harmonizing in that energy and that may be opposing are going to start
breaking away a bit.
Breaking away, separating. And we need to be gentle with ourselves. The great thing is that we have an awareness.
Right.
So for the viewers, again, if this resonates, put it in your back pocket. And that means, that you can keep pulling it out when you are going through these experiences, because you don't need to take it personal or, take it as a hit.
Yes,
that you're being forsaken or that someone doesn't love you or that you're not important, but more so in that place of awareness, like the 1111, like pay attention. You can take that card, like this message out of your back pocket and say, is it because it is not conducive to that complementary flow, which is so beautiful, and it is being removed, or it is stepping away because something that has more fluidity is going to step in? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's like a nice, comfortable place to be in, then, So.
And so we love to hear, of course, comments on this topic, because we're not the ultimate authority, so we'd love to hear, your thoughts on what we've shared.
Yeah, maybe how you use numbers, how, they're playing out in your life at all. I could even picture just meditating on 22, to bring in that complementative energy.
And I would say if that resonates, and again, I am honoring and working very strongly with the 22 wave. If you're inspired to engage with it. And I like to tell the beloveds, when you're connecting with numbers, become intimate with them.
Yeah.
Have a friendship with them. Yeah. And I know it sounds kind of funny, right? But
no, it doesn't. They have personality.
Exactly.
That's what it is. Get to know them.
Move with them, like the shape of them, and see how they feel, and just become part of the frequency of
you could even take the calendar date itself and go by, what number am I going to focus on today, kind of thing. It's just an idea to get them into your schedule a little.
Definitely a different way to meditate, and a beautiful one, because every number, like you said, has a very unique frequency. So
definitely.
Yes.
All right.
I love that. So you brought a special oracle deck today.
I brought
to us about
the Holly Simple Fuzzy Prism Oracle deck, which I love, and it's so weird. Like, I love her. It's so it's just good. I love these the severed hand. It's something from my family crest is a severed hand. So when I saw that, I was like, you don't even know. My brother, my father, they both have severed hand tattoos. Like, I'm going to put it back in because I've been sloppy lately.
I took a quick peek at it and I thought it was so playful, whimsical, and yet, it,
a little edgy, right? Like,
but cards spoke to me as I was quickly looking at it,
Yeah.
I love how creative she was. Is it a she?
Yeah.
Yeah. In creating this oracle deck.
Me too.
And so we like to pull a card at the end of every discussion to see what added message the oracle may have for us, right? Ooh, this one's speaking to me. It says, take me, take me. Oh,
what is it? Oh,
share.
How complimentary.
Exactly, right?
And you've got the pyramid, the tetrahedron in there.
Isn't that? Oh, it's a perfect card, right? I love it. I feel immediately like this amazing energy of, of us sharing, and perhaps if any of this resonated, I have to be authentic. If any part of the discussions spoke to you, you may want to share it with someone, someone who you feel may benefit from it.
Definitely.
That you love, and you just want them to have the experience, and just beautiful, the divine exchange of giving and receiving, it's just a divine circle that keeps the energy moving. I love it. I feel a lot of love in it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, I
it's
hope
so
that
simple
the
and
sharing
cute.
was something that you received, and hopefully you send it back out to someone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I love that. There's a lot of love in that card.
Oh, we have the universe, which again has this like cubic shape here, you know? This card always kind of has the same message for me just because it is a box, you know, and it's what I see. It's like your universe is as big as you kind of box it in to be. And maybe this numbers meditation, this numbers, you know, becoming intimate with them, having these like rapport relationship, that might be expanding your universe a bit. That might be a little out there for you. So just something to think about, that like take it in comfort for you, you know. Like if you're at level 1, if it's just that awareness, like let that be and don't put pressure on yourself. You know, don't try to, what's the expression, like take a drink out of a fire hydrant, like it's okay. You know, and take it like one thing at a time. And I think that there will be a comfort in that. And you know, all of this stuff, spirituality, metaphysical stuff, all of it there is no point of deep end. Like it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The more you go, you'll never know all of it. So just be comfortable with that. Like it's okay.
Right. It's not a race.
Right.
It's not a race.
Right. It's not a race.
It's not a race, and yet, if you allow me to add, you know, in your card there, and yet every step that you take is one step, you know, closer to becoming, you know, your highest potential. So don't be afraid to take the steps, right? Because you're unlimited, you know.
Truly,
so growth.
And yeah, that's the part of it too, that there is no limit. I guess is like a good. I love that, right? To just like enjoy it, enjoy getting to know all this stuff. Like these are things that people are passionate about. This isn't just, you know, hobby. It's something that speaks to you deeply, and whether the message feels like it's on the surface or, you know. Or for one person it's on the surface, and for the other person it's like, what, are you kidding me? We're all on our different levels, you know, and like there's no limit, and you just keep going. So that's what I get from that too. Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and you know, we're just honored and thrilled to be here connecting with you in this capacity, and you know, I just love it. I just love everything about this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the beautiful comments that everybody has left us in the videos that we've made. The support, you know, we're so grateful. We just love what we're doing.
It's always hard to say goodbye, isn't it?
Yes. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll look forward to connecting again. Always leaving you with our love, with our light, and our peace. And we love you.
See you next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.